Welcome back, guys, to Hearthstone Champions League. My name is Marcin Nimsh-Filipovic, and I'm here with Alexander Raven Baguli. And this is the last match of the day. One player is getting out, and one player is getting in. Ostkaka versus Hannibalz2, World Champion versus the Cluj-Napoca DreamHack Champion.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, and I kind of like Hannibal's aggressive decks here, and I see how it lines up against Ostkaka. Something to be said about at least his Hunter is that it can do really well versus the Rogue. We can see that Ostkaka's actually locked in his Warrior, though, so probably his best matchup versus this Hunter, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, was that a tendency for Hannibalz2? Like, was he always starting with a Hunter deck?
I think he might have done, actually. I think at least his last set he started Hunter, I think. So, yeah, maybe Ostkaka's, read that a little bit if he had time to watch the matches. But starting off Patron against an aggressive lineup also isn't too terrible. I mean, this Patron deck does pretty well versus Zoo, Hunter, and Paladin. So, and off to a quick start as the Juggler gets played straight into a slam for that removal. And Hannibalz can actually just lock in another Juggler and say, okay, well, you clearly didn't have Fiery War Axe, so you wouldn't have slammed, so...
Yeah, and that's a very good point, because the weapon is exactly what you need as a Warrior versus Hunter. Fortunately for Ostkaka, he got his Floating Berserker. That's not getting challenged for now, and if there is no Lucky Juggle, it can actually kill the Knife Juggler.
Or a Leok.
And a miss, but he can still trade, so that's okay for Hannibal's, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's actually like okay for both, if that if that's a thing, because Ostkaka's like, oh, okay, like a 4-attack, 4-2 Juggler killing itself is good for me, but I'll lose the Berserker. But Hannibal's definitely, you need to remove Frothing Berserker off the board. Like, can't get charged anymore from the War Song, but it can still do a lot of damage if you just leave it.
How valuable it is to Cruel Taskmaster execute the Leok? Is it like killing one bird with a stone?
I think it's okay. Ostkaka will know that there's high mains in the deck that he saw in previous matches, but I think it's okay just to gain the tempo, because the issue is if he doesn't do that, then he's just letting Leok live.
Yeah.
And it's not like he has Deathbite or anything else at the moment to try and deal with it, so that's definitely his best option. And now Hannibalz is still having to just drop minions, and the more he's doing this and getting cleared up, the less hero power he's using. Now Ostkaka's still sitting pretty okay on turn 5 at 29 health.
Yeah, absolutely. The longer the game goes, the better for Ostkaka, because he will have an opportunity to draw cards. Like, he's using this Battle Rage right now. If he gets something like a Fiery War Axe, that would be a very powerful turn. And
yeah, this is... Ooh. Whirlwind's okay for next turn, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think this is Whirlwind when you can pretty much guarantee Hannibal's is going to run one of those 1/1s into 2/1 anyway.
It's mostly about keeping Whirlwind for Patron. So getting that Whirlwind here is nice, because now he has at least one activator for the Patron. If he gets a second Whirlwind or an Inner Rage, then he will be able to put a full board of Patrons. Well, not full, but a couple of Patrons that will be able to fight him.
Enough Patrons.
Enough, yeah.
We have to think of a word for a group of patrons.
A gang of patrons?
Yeah, that could be pretty good. A tavern of patrons?
A business of patrons? Like a business of ferrets? Is that there?
We'll have to work on these.
Yeah.
We'll sort this out for next time. We'll have to do some research.
Give us some time, guys. We'll have it for the finals.
So, question: is this worth a kill command?
I think
yes.
It is. Oh man, like, this is a snake trap, right?
I think it has to be, because I'm not sure actually. Yeah, I'm not sure, because even if it was freezing, there's a plan to kill command that 3/3, because a Whirlwind into attack just means you've still got a Patron and generate the Patron into your hand, even though it's more expensive. Ostkaka finally drawing into that Fiery War Axe. Probably wanted that about 5 turns ago, but Dr. Boom on turn 7 normally feels pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely, especially because he's stat 21, and those two minions, they're not dealing that much damage. So Ostkaka, even though it's not the situation where you're absolutely winning, Hannibalz will be continuing with aggression and feeling pretty comfy on 30. Ostkaka has a chance to win this game with that Dr. Boom on board.
Yeah, and especially because he has Fiery War Axe into a Corsair, and he can use 2 bombs to get some work done here. I think what's good for Ostkaka now is, like, Hannibalz on 1 card a turn. So this now means that he's effectively top decking, unless he goes into, into quick shot, into, whatever. But now, like, the crazy amounts of damage are sort of off the table now. So he can now just focus on it stabilizing, and the second the Patron Warrior stabilizes, it really is going to be an uphill climb for Hannibal.
Oh, that was actually good for Ostkaka that it was a freezing trap, because that will be a snake trap. It will put 3 more power on board. That's hard to deal with if you only have a big 7/7 minion.
Exactly, and there's no AoE we can see in Ostkaka's hand, but the Fire War Axe into Dread Corsair is going to be really nice, especially because you can squeeze in that armor up. So that's really good for Ostkaka, and now the emphasis is definitely on Hannibalz2 to try and see if he can actually just push through this now, as Ostkaka's going to probably presume this is Snake Trap.
Yeah, and Savannah Hymen might look great, but then is there lethal a possibility from Ostkaka next turn? You cannot really attack into 3/3 because you're just buffing the Berlin Berserker, and there's 18 damage.
Yeah, that is definitely scary. And if there's a whirlwind come down or something like that, it's going to be pretty grim. Does Inner Rage do it?
18 damage? That's
if it's not freezing?
If it's not freezing, that's +3 damage, I believe. So we have 10, 18...
It's 21.
21.
Oh,
yeah, actually.
And
wow.
Yeah, there we go.
Just like that.
And that's the power of a Frothing Berserker, guys. Even though it doesn't have a charge, if it's just survives just one turn, the amount of potential buffs it can do in terms of extra damage is so high, and that's going to be a very swift face hunter game, but not in the way most people would imagine.
You absolutely ignored the role of Dr. Boom in this game, but I'm fine. Frothing had one more attack, so...
Okay, you know what I mean.
Yeah, well,
if it was Dr. Boom and another Dread Corsair, that couldn't have happened.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, Frothing is really nice, especially versus decks that deal damage. So I agree with you completely. But Dr. Boom was still there with those bombs, and he did a lot of work himself. But that was a good matchup to begin with, and we could see why. Even though Ostkaka didn't get those weapons at the very beginning, he was able to survive and execute on Leok, proved to be worthy, and then came back with those big creatures.
Yeah, I think even though we didn't get it too early, even the slam on the juggler straight away was really good, because it just, you don't care about the card draw, you just want to reduce the threats down from the hunter. And now we're going to see Ostkaka's Warlock versus Hannibalz2's Hunter again, so slightly better matchup for Hannibalz2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the matchup that Hannibalz2 was actually aiming for. With the popularity of Zoo, Hunter was always good versus Zoo overall, and this is because of the cards that like Explosive Trap and Unleash the Hounds, and how you can deal with the board early. And actually Zoo wants to have the board, and you can take advantage of it. But I'm not sure, Hannibalz2 is not running Explosive Traps in his deck. We've only seen Freezing and Snake Trap, because this is the hybrid Hunter.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. And even though Freezing Trap and Snakes can perform really well versus Zoo, Explosive Trap is the go-to in terms of clearing the board of small minions, which is generally what Zoo does. The only problem is Argus can really ruin that, because it just potentially pushes their minion health just out of reach of that explosive. So not too bad for Hannibal's, but I think his Hunter should perform fairly well. It's probably his worst matchup in terms of the Rogue or the Warlock, because I think the Hunter does pretty well versus the Rogue, as most Rogues have been cutting cards like Healbot recently.
Yeah, exactly. But still, I think that the main difference between those decks comes down to the fact that Hunter will deal damage to Warlock with his hero power, and then Warlock will deal damage to himself with the hero power. So the life total will be in favor of Hannibalz2 overall. But for now, it seems that Ostkaka is doing nicely with reducing the number of minions on Hannibalz2 side.
Yeah, that silence was really nice, just get it off the board, and it seems like a bit of an overcommitment to silence a creeper and then kill it off. But when you're in Space Hunter, just taking everything they have off the board and keeping the board yourself, which is what Zoo specializes in. And even this Elven Archer could get some work done in saving one of these 2/1s here.
I'm really curious how afraid Ostkaka is of Unleash the Hound. We know Hannibalz2 is having 2 at the moment, but sometimes when you have an opportunity, when you play versus Hunter, you might think hey, okay, so there is a chance that they will have 1 Unleash the Hounds and my board can still survive. But when is that moment? Is it now? Is Ostkaka afraid of it? Or is he saying that, hey, do you have it or do you don't have it?
Yeah, I think one of the problems is, especially with Zoo, there are moments when you can't really play around that. You can do it a little bit, so using 2 tokens of 1/1s instead of a 2 attack minion to kill a 2 health minion, things like that. But in terms of actually just building up the board, I think you can't play around it too heavily, because then the Hunter hero power and, as you said, the Warlock hero power will actually work against you too much. You do need to build that board up.
They work in tandem. Both want to kill the Warlock.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Okay, so
This is kind of rough, actually. I think, yeah, I was gonna say, I think I just prefer the Shredder, even though it dies to the two minions that can attack on the board. I think Unleash off curve never feels great, and then the Abusive could be played as well, but the extra attack actually does nothing except hit face a bit harder.
I like Dark Iron Dwarf here, I feel. So like if you slam Dark Iron, you can kill the 4/3 with the 1/1. And then you will have a 2/1 for a possible drop, and you don't have that many minions on board. So like you keep free minions on board overall.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And it sets up for a pretty good Defender of Argus to make Dark Iron Dwarf a 5/5 potentially next turn.
Yeah. Like overall, Defender of Argus will be needed for that Unleash the Hounds, right? Like when the moment you overextend your board for Unleash the Hounds, you would like to have Defender of Argus there for you to stop it.
Oh, it was a 2 health minion.
Yeah, it would be pretty nice with Dark Iron Dwarf, but still, I think Ostkaka is in a good shape overall. Oh man, like one of the most annoying things when you are a hunter with Unleash the Hounds is that when there's Defender of Argus and the Nerubian Egg, you just look at it and you're disgusted.
Yeah, it's really rough and really difficult to deal with. And even this board, although it doesn't look super threatening, that egg is just such a problem because Hunter has no real like nice way to deal with it. I mean, you can owl it, but it's still there, and that's the benefit. Where like even if it gets silenced, it still kind of needs to be killed because, as we've seen, there's Abusive Sergeants, Defender of Argus, Dark Iron Dwarf, Power Overwhelming. There's so many cards that can make use of that token.
So for Hannibalz2, what do you think about Unleash killing the wolf and the free one, and then just playing your own mad scientist?
Yeah, I think that's really good because what that does is if the egg gets abusive or power overwhelming or whatever and kills the scientist, then it's probably going to be freezing trap. Or at least you've got, 50/50 or whatever, freezing trap, which then bounces the spider, hopefully, which then makes the spider, a 6 mana 4/4?
Yeah. Also, yes, 5 mana. I think Cider is 3 mana, I believe.
Okay.
Also, it will play around Defender of Argus a bit. But this requires Hannibalz2 to trade into minions, and that's normally not what he's doing.
Yeah, he does have the follow-up next turn of High Main, though. Whoa! Oh.
I think he got disconnected, because earlier we've seen that his camera got disconnected, and probably the game just stayed alive for a moment. So,
Okay.
well, that was a pretty early disconnect. I would say that would be just a rematch with the same decks.
Yeah, I mean, the health totals on both of them were really high. After that, what would have probably been the Unleashed player turn, the game was actually still pretty even. There was no one that was clearly ahead, I would say.
Yeah.
So obviously that's not down to us, but I would imagine that's going to be a reconnect as there was no clear winner. But we'll just find out from the guys here.
Yeah, we got an update that this is a rematch, and in most situations, like in live tournaments, offline tournaments, whenever there is no clear lethal on board, it's much better to have a rematch instead of having discussion what if. But this one was pretty clear. That this time the game was undecided for sure, so a rematch is pretty clear. But guys, give us some time actually before Hannibalz comes back, because apparently he got disconnected and has some issues with his connection. So we will be back as soon as he is back, or as soon as we have an update. Alright guys, we're back, so welcome back to Hearthstone Champions League, and Hannibalz is back as well, so we'll resume in just a moment. I believe players are starting at the very moment. So Raven, who do you think is going to take it?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one because that match was actually really close. Because as we were saying just before the disconnect happened, he could have actually cleared that board up and then dropped the Scientist. If that got removed, it could have been freezing trapped to then bounce the Spider back. So that would have created a lot of tempo. But as you can see so far, like the matchup is actually really close. So there's swing cards in a lot of matchups where the Implosion, for example, can just be hit really hard back from the Hunter with Unleash. So it's really back and forth, and probably going to depend on who secures that board control, and probably around cards like Dark Iron Dwarf and Defender of Argus for the Zoo.
There's also a couple of interesting additions to this matchup because Dark Peddler can actually change it a bit. Not only it's an okay minion that you can play on turn 2, but you're getting stuff like Elven Archer, Mortal Coil, cards, maybe even something to destroy the weapon, right? Like, how is the guy called the Courser?
Oh, the Dread card. No, it's the Bloodsail Courser.
Bloodsail Courser? Yeah.
Yeah, the 1-mana 1/2 that removes a weapon charge.
Exactly.
That's what I call him. The nice and short name.
The 1/2 pirate?
Yeah, that'll do.
Alright.
The pirate you get from Peddler.
He is a pretty good pirate you get from Peddler.
Yeah. Okay, so the game is just starting now. Hannibalz2 on a pretty reasonable opening hand again. He can coin into the Creeper if he wants to, or just play on curve and drop the Abusive. Whereas Ostkaka is... Oh, this is tough. Like, he can play Abusive just to get a minion down, but because he has Nerubian Egg, he might want to drop Egg, and then he has a guaranteed activator for the Egg in the form of the Abusive side. So I like the skip there from Ostkaka. You just give it one turn, drop the Egg down potentially, and go from there. He does actually choose to drop the Creeper though, as this is so he had the options on turn 2, right? Because the Creeper absolutely. Now it can die and still give tokens to continue trading with the Hunter.
Yeah, especially because he has Direwolf Alpha as well. So if he uses Creeper here and goes for, let's say, Brown Bronzebeard, interesting. So if he kills the 2/1 and goes for the Brown Bronzebeard, he might have some good trades for the next turn. But the fact that he has Direwolf Alpha in his hand means that the Spectral Spiders, he values them a bit more than a 4/4 Nerubian Egg token.
Yeah, so this is really nice in there. Oh, the fun you can have with Bran, right? It's such a good card.
Yeah, it works with so many cards in the Zoo deck, right? Like Abusive, Dark Iron, Defender of Argus, Peddler, yeah. Doomguard.
But it definitely, the effects are insane. I mean, even Bran into Abusive is pretty crazy, with +4 on a minion. And this is really nice, just the body in itself, dropping a 2/4 for the Hunter to almost have to deal with, because Bran's definitely not a card you can ignore. But it will require a lot of resource if Hannibal actually wants to do something about this guy.
Well, he actually has a Knife Juggler into Haunted Creeper attacking into Bran. So a lot of good ways to clear it.
Is he going to get it? Wow, these juggles.
Yeah. Well, he missed one.
Yeah, he leaves one, but 2 out of 3 is pretty reasonable, right?
Absolutely. I think that was really good to kill it. Like, it was, for him, probably better in his eyes to kill Bran. Because now, like, he hopes the Spider will not contest Knife Juggler. But we know that Ostkaka has a way. He has Direwolf Alpha, Flame him. He can even go for, like... Do you go for Nerubian Egg into Flame him Abusive? Maybe?
It's a tough one. There's either that, or you could go Direwolf Alpha Nerubian Egg. But I think the Flame Imp's better because the Alpha loses a lot of power when you know the token's going to die. So I think this is pretty nice. You still have an activator for Direwolf Alpha, for it buffing the egg, so that's still there, so you can still do something. And what Hannibalz2 I think needs to do in this matchup is continue to try and keep the board clear, because he has like the snapback card of like the Unleash the Hounds that we might see this turn to like recover the board and the traps, whereas Ostkaka's fully just relying on his minions to try and like wrestle with the board, and cards like Horse Rider do some work in this matchup.
Yeah, this seems like this is a much better situation for Hannibalz2 that was in the previous game, where they faced each other with the same deck setup. A Dark Iron Dwarf, though, is a nice pickup where he can pop the egg and get a 4/4 on the board.
Yeah, this is pretty nice. Just put this is the thing the Zoo can do that the Hunter sort of can't until it comes into high main turns. Is like put just bigger minions on the board overall. But Leok can help with that, I've been told.
Yeah, I think Leok is great, especially if you have Unleash the Hounds as well. So, but then how do you clear this board effectively, or do you just go for?
He doesn't. To be fair, Hannibalz is on 30 health. What are you afraid of? Maybe clear off 1, but I would actually not mind putting him to 10 because he has quick shot and kill command in hand. So just put him to 10, make Ostkaka clear, which again, unless the Defender Vargas comes down, this is definitely going to be rough.
Yeah, Hannibalz is like, I have to win quick before I disconnect again.
Yeah, this is why Hannibalz plays aggro decks. He's playing unstable connection, so he has to just end games quickly before he DCs. It all makes so much sense now.
Alright, so it seems it's over with double kill command.
Oh wow, yeah, double kill command. It doesn't even need to attack with a minion.
Okay, so this means it's a 1-1, and that was to start with a good matchup for Hannibalz overall, especially with all that burn. But how does the rest of the match look like? What's left?
Yeah, so basically now Ostkaka still has his Zoo left that we've just seen, and still has his Rogue left. So to be honest, Ostkaka's like probably okay with that Hunter win because the Hunter was good versus Zoo and the Rogue.
Yeah.
And then Hannibalz he just won with his Hunter, so he has his own Zoo and his Secret Paladin, which we're about to see now as he's picked his Secret Paladin against Ostkaka's Rogue.
So it's an interesting matchup. I feel like Rogue has an advantage, so I'm really curious how Ostkaka will play it out, but we've seen Secret Paladin win it from time to time.
Yeah, the Rogues can be really good because of cards like Backstab, SI. You get if you get the early on removal, it's really nice, and it's one of the classes that has the benefit along with Druid, where you can proc the like the Noble Sacrifice, for example, with your weapon, which is really good. 'Cause it means you can then use your minions for better trades. So Hannibalz does have a reasonable opening with 1/2 drops and a Noble Sacrifice if he desires. But Ostkaka with a Backstab can quickly clean up this. So there's one minion early on down already. And the thing that Ostkaka has as the Rogue that Hannibalz may not have, because I don't think he runs it, is card draw. So I don't think Hannibalz runs Divine Favor, right?
We haven't seen it from Hannibalz, but we have. Yeah. But we did see it today a couple of times.
Yeah, we saw it from Tice, right?
Yeah, we saw it from Tice. Ostkaka got a really good opening, not only that backstab, but also coin SI7 and then follow up with Sludge Belcher and Azure Drake. Well, he doesn't have to SI7 with coin, because maybe playing a Sludge Belcher on turn 4 will be much better there.
Just as he removes the shield to potentially do something big next turn with the SI, he actually Hannibalz just snaps Cockhammer, so that's pretty fine. It puts the shield back on, makes it a taunt, and pushes for some more damage. So really good pickup, because other than that, it was just Noble Sacrifice hero power.
Yeah, but he still doesn't really have a turn 4 play. He has Consecration to deal damage, but as we've seen, being a Paladin, rushing your opponent doesn't work that well. Like we've seen, Hannibalz was the guy who had a 10-10 shielded me bot, but he still fails to deliver the final blow, because Paladin is not Hunter. You deal a certain amount of damage, and then you still have to have the board be able to follow up. There is no magical spell that would just win you the game.
Yeah, it's definitely heavily reliant on the board, and Rogue kind of excels at controlling the board a lot of the time, which is why this matchup is a bit of a struggle for the Paladin, but still doable, especially with Lotheb in hand. You know, Lotheb sort of buys you a turn, but Skaka's going to commit to the sack now, so just to slow the game down a little bit, because he didn't have too much of a great hand, and with the prep be able to put the SI, and now he gains the border control.
Yeah, absolutely, and he also wants to have the coin for a Sludge Belcher or Azure Drake on next turn. There is the Blessing of Kings, so that was just in time.
Yeah, that was pretty reasonable. He gets the minibot back down, and yeah, this is pretty okay. He can drop the Lotheb next turn, but there's even potential for just Consecrate Noble Sack if he really wants to, depending on what comes out from Ostkaka. And do you still just coin Belcher here? Kill the 1/1, I suppose?
I think you do. Like, well, you can also kill the 2/2. Like, get rid of the Divine Shield and kill the 2/2 with your SI7.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, that's better. Especially, you do play around. Obviously, we can see that it's Blessing of Kings there, so you do play around that card.
Yeah.
The secret's actually not too bad for Hannibalz, because if he decides not to play the Lothar, you know, that 1 mana spell actually is pretty nice just to squeeze in to fill out your curve a little bit.
Yeah, but is Consecration even good? Like, the 1/1 dude will... yeah, I think that the Blessing of Kings will actually be good. So you're right, absolutely. Noble Sacrifice will be okay.
Yeah, so the Blessed Kings just go down on the 3/5 now. He can clear up the sludge that comes out of the Belcher and play Noble Sacrifice if he desires. Yeah, it's too good not to play, right? Because it almost forces a hero power from the Rogue.
Yeah, and you're fine with that because there are not that many free... well, there's a lot of free manas minions, but with regards to the spells, like you probably want to force the hero power, especially if you also... Rogue will lose durability when he attacks. But what we can see here is also a Farseer, so maybe trying to protect... no, you need to kill the 5-2, that's for sure.
Yeah, and he does just clear that off there, plays the Farseer just to heal back up again. And yeah, just not too bad overall. Ostkaka just about keeping control of the board every turn.
So Lothar comes down with the Secret Keeper, which is not terrible for Ostkaka. He has his own Azure Drake, and definitely better for him if that would be a Mysterious Challenger. Getting a... oh wow, Eviscerate. Azure Drake with Eviscerate will be so good next turn.
Yeah, it's kind of tough though, because like the only other thing he could have done is like hero powered and played Van Cleef as a 2/2, which feels terrible. So I think this is okay. Consecrate's definitely going to do some work now, and Lothab's is sat uncontested as well as a mini-bot being played. So Hannibalz actually just took the board back, and he doesn't have a lot of cards, but Blessing of Kings, he's already seen 1 sap. So if Blessing of Kings goes down onto the mini-bot, that could be pretty good. But typically, as I said, sap, Ostkaka draws his second one.
He does, but still, he needs to deal with those 2 minions somehow this turn. And if he goes Eviscerate, he will have to attack Lothar with his haste, and that will put him a bit lower. And then Blessing of Kings will be able to deal some damage. It's 6 damage to Ostkaka. So if he takes 5 from Lothar and then 6 from Shielded Mini-bot, that will leave him only on 5. And well, Paladin normally doesn't have burst, but 5 damage is not much. It's something you might actually squeeze in from weapons and a possible... well, probably not second Consecration, but overall the dudes will reach the face at some point.
Yep, and you heard it here first, guys. Ostkaka loves sapping mini-bots. 2 in 1 game. Not normally the target you would consider the sap target of priority in Paladin, but it's happened twice in this one, so that's kind of funny. And this was a good turn from Ostkaka. He removes the potential for buffing the mini-bot, and the extra damage, of course, whilst getting a 6/6 on the board. So Hannibal's now going all out in his Best of Kings. He's seen both saps, so chance of that happening again is slim to none. Now it's just if Ostkaka's got anything to be able to deal with this, because this is a lot of damage.
Well, he can Eviscerate and attack into it with Edwin, and he can also ignore it. If there is a second Blessing of Kings, that will be a bit troublesome. But he can try Rainsing and force the attack. So Blessing of Kings is lethal, Truth of a Champion is lethal, Competitive Spirit is not.
Yeah, I like the play from Ostkaka though. I think the sprint was good because he didn't really have anything great, and sprint could really give him the card he needs to actually turn this matchup around. But Hannibalz pushing for a lot of damage, maybe? Oh, he's actually trading. Okay.
He recognizes the 6/6 Edwin might be a threat on the side of the Rogue, who just got all those cards. But this gives an opportunity to Ostkaka to actually come back and deal with it.
Yeah, the scary thing now is because there's only 1 secret, Ostkaka really has to think about what punishes him the most in terms of what secret's left behind, and what to play around. So if the secret was Redemption and he kills the mini-bot, then realistically you'd have to, if he thinks it's Redemption, he'd go for the 1/1 first. If it's Avenge, then he has to work out, can I actually kill the mini-bot, then deal with the Avenge target as well? He isn't insta-dead to it, but you know, it could be close. So there's a lot of thoughts going on in Ostkaka's head at the moment, and he's trying to work out what the best way is.
I think Contemplator attack, then Flurry, see... well, first see what the secret is, right? And if it lands on... oh, that's actually a competitive spirit, so for Ostkaka it's good. But he was absolutely testing for Avenge as well. Now he knows that it's an easy clear. with what he has. He doesn't. Okay, he uses the flare here.
Yep, use the flare to clear up. He knows it's Comp Spirit now. And this suddenly is sort of like, it's all top deck mode for Hannibalz2. If he gets like Dr. Boom, Mysterious Challenger, Tyrion, great for him. If he draws like a Creeper or something, then, you know, Ostkaka with his massive card advantage could run away with this game. But Shredder into hero power and that Comp Spirit still being there to help with a little bit extra damage if anything survives is actually still a huge threat for Ostkaka.
Well, Blessing of Kings finishes the game if they are not dead. Actually, Competitive Spirit is also something that we need to keep in mind, right? So Ostkaka needs to somehow deal with this board at the moment. A 1-1 is not threatening that much. Lothar, yeah, I think it's good, but what if there is a Tyrion drop from Hannibalz?
He's gonna have to. He's probably gonna sit and regret sapping those mini bots, even though it was the right play overall. It's a tough one. True Silver puts him to 2 and puts him on the clock. So, but can he afford to? I guess he does. He puts himself on 16 health with this True Silver hit to face. Puts his opponent on 2, and it's all on Ostkaka to make something big happen.
How much damage is he missing?
9,
so he's
7. So does he just have to sprint, depending on what comes out? Flurry.
Sprint into prep oil. Is deadly poison enough? Not really. No prep. There's a deadly and Ostkaka gives up. So Hannibalz2 takes it with the Paladin deck. Wow, this match was so close all the time, I feel.
Yeah, it was really crazy. And to be honest, whenever the Rogue is having to sack mini-bots, you're probably feeling okay as the Paladin. But as we saw then, like, if that game went on for just a couple more turns, like, Ostkaka's in control. He's got like a million cards, except that Hannibalz2 just had enough. And I think that Shredder was actually really important. If he top decked like a Creeper, then that wouldn't have done nearly as much as the as the Shredder there.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like, he could have also gotten Mr. Challengers, Tyrion, Dr. Boom, so he still had those big cards in the deck, and he was, to be honest, getting something like a Competitive Spirit instead.
Yep, and now Hannibalz2 has got his Warlock, in which he plays Argent Squire, so not a super common pick, so maybe leans slightly more aggressive. Is just playing additional 1-drops to fill out the curve, and you know, in Gangbust into Argent Squire is pretty reasonable, especially when Ostkaka doesn't really have a good answer. Like a backstab would be huge right about now.
Hannibalz2 playing an aggressive Warlock deck. Are you surprised, Raven?
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I didn't expect it with this lineup whatsoever. Thought he was going to play Control Warlock.
Reno Lock. Hello. Just
without Reno.
Yeah, like Strife Crow.
Yeah.
All right. So a very good opening for Hannibalz2. Overall, Ostkaka has a great hand as well. He has a preparation, Fun of Knives. He has another preparation, an SI7. So he can actually deal with this board right now, right here, getting an advantage.
Yeah, this is as good as it was going to get for Ostkaka at this point, and this one turn might be enough to slow Hannibalz2 down so that Ostkaka can like start piling on the pressure, because now he does have Sap. He does have Shredder, and even Thalnos pretty much is going to be Cycle, I imagine, soon. But even just dropping the Shredder here could be pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Or do you think, judging of how Ostkaka's been playing, do you think he trades the 3-3 into the 1-3 and then like saps the Juggler and plays Thalnos all weapons up?
I think that's possible. No, not really Thalnos. Like, I think he can play Shredder, Prep, Sap, Juggler, and attack into the 1-3, and you end up with a clear board from Zoo. And you yourself have a 3-2 and a 4-3, so you're in a great position to start pressuring, and you still have a Blade Flare just in case for the future.
Yeah, you're completely right there. I did actually just decide to imagine Prep wasn't a card in Ostkaka's hand, so
okay.
So yeah, that's really good. Like you said, clearing the board, and also like removing the Juggler was key, because the second you get Juggler on board and then into an implosion, as we've seen in some early matches tonight, it can make such a huge impact on the game, especially after using Fan of Knives.
Yeah, also he has a great answer against that Juggler if it's getting replayed, because like, let's say there's Juggler and something else, he has Blood Mage, Thalnos, and Flurry. But right now he's such a great shape with Violet Teacher as a follow-up. He can kill the Juggler with a 3-2. He's even going for a 4-3 to have more minions on board, more power, getting a good drop from Shredder.
Yeah, and this is showing like the knowledge of the matchups that Ostkaka has. Like, Zoo can't deal with multiple minions. It has like no AoE other than like Juggler Implosion, right? So like it just can't deal with multiple minions. So the idea now is you forget about like how sticky the Shredder can be, and instead just fill the board. And there's a second Violet Teacher as well.
Which is pretty good, because he can just weapon up, kill the Doomguard with one of his minions and a weapon attack. He will go down to 16, but if Zoo doesn't have minions, you should be in a good shape and you have a better board. You still pressure for 3 damage this turn.
Yeah, I really like it. And then the thing is, like, with even just Flurry in hand, like, you can guarantee doing some work with that Teacher next turn. And the odds on him drawing a spell is probably relatively high. We've seen quite minion heavy so far from Ostkaka's Rogue. So the odds on him getting at least one more playable spell is pretty good. So he can make some more tokens, and again, board control is everything versus Zoo. If you empty their board every turn, they just don't win. Ostkaka is only on 16, but, you know, Hannibal's on 19, so it's actually pretty close. And there's the card.
That pirate from the Dark Peddler, who's a Bloodsail Corsair.
Did we even guess Bloodsail Corsair? Is that what we said?
I did say it at some point. After naming like 3 different gangs of pirates.
Yeah. So this is like a nice play, and it does do something because it forces Ostkaka into like, no, not forces, but makes him like not have 1 damage he would have had previously. But wow, if it's not, if it's not lethal, it's lethal for Hannibal's in terms of the overall game anyway. Because I don't know the recovery after this. He has what 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, he's 1 off. But this pretty much is game, I believe. I don't think Hannibalz2 has a card in his deck that's going to come back from this situation. Really, really good play from Ostkaka.
Absolutely, just locking this game. So this means that this match overall, World Champion versus Cluj-Napoca DreamHack Champion, will come down to the mirror match, which is Zoo versus Zoo. And one of them will join the rest of the guys in the top 8 playoffs, and the other will be eliminated.
Yeah, and what a matchup to end it on. I mean, I know you've been playing at least variants of this deck recently, and I've played quite a lot of it, and I really enjoy it. A lot of people might think, oh, it's you know, just smart and things like that, but it's actually not. There's actually a lot of control in the board, which is quite fun.
Yeah, absolutely, and like minions, trading into minions is one of the biggest funs of Hearthstone, and this is also what developers want us to do, like just challenge minions into minions, not just go for face with one strategy. And there is a lot of thinking doing that, a lot of different things happening, but this matchup might be one of the most like basic Hearthstone matchups.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just you build your board up whilst reducing their board down. Like you said, it's pretty much an old school slugfest, isn't it? There's nothing too flashy that happens. I mean, Juggler Implosions, or like getting like 3 power overwhelmings on it, you know, it's like as flashy as it's going to get in this deck. It's all about board control and basically creating the best trades.
Oh man, that Direwolf Alpha was really good for Hannibalz2, because right now he can trade 1-1 versus Flameth, where he was losing his Void Walker for nothing next turn.
Yeah, that was really nice. And double Gang Boss for Hannibalz2, whereas Ostkaka only has 1. But Ostkaka, I think overall, even though the Gang Bosses are really difficult to deal with for Ostkaka, I think Ostkaka has the overall best hand here. Because Implosion's so good, and even the Peddler can get some, get a lot of work done.
Actually, like, it's not only Implosion and Peddler, it's basically Nerubian Egg into Power Overwhelming, trading into the Gang Boss, and playing his own next turn, and then follow up with Implosion. So Implosion is one of the key cards, I think, in this matchup as well. Oh man, even with the Juggler. But overall, Implosion, as you mentioned in the previous game, is one of the few comeback mechanisms that the Zoo has to get board control back. So those Implosions will be really important coming forward.
Yep, and we might actually see... it's a tough one. I don't even mind putting the Power Overwhelming onto the 3-4 now. So yeah, there we go. It puts a lot of power on the board for Ostkaka, and then just leaves like the 2-1 token being buffed from the Wolf, and then the Direwolf itself. So really difficult for Hannibalz2 to sort of challenge 2 4 health minions here.
Yeah, he gets a Doomguard, which is a good mechanism maybe to come back on turn 5, and now he will have to decide how to play this. The Haunted Creepers might be the play. Like, both Haunted Creepers, play them fast so that you have minions to fight back. At the moment where one Zoo actually gets an overwhelming advantage on board with a couple of minions where you have nothing, you know you will lose the game.
Yeah, and the benefit of the creepers over the gang boss, one, it obviously fills out the mana curve better, but if the gang boss kills the creeper, then the creeper tokens can, one, kill the 1/1 that spawns off the gang boss, and then you still have a 1/1 left. So, you actually, have enough board to still challenge and continue to challenge the gang boss. Ostkaka does kill off one, and I think we might see a juggler peddler, but now is he...
Oh,
What is he thinking? What does he think he's messed up?
Well, he didn't play the juggler. He should play the juggler first and then attack.
Ah, he missed the juggle. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that was... Ostkaka also was shaking his head.
And this proves everyone that even some of the best players in the world can make mistakes. And this is where, consistency comes through. And to be honest, a mistake like that is not something you see Ostkaka do often.
Yeah, so at the moment you have to say to yourself, okay, even if I will have a juggler there, it will probably go to face, right? It wouldn't matter.
Yeah, if only he was on 29 health now. Yeah, I think things like that you have to sort of just get over pretty quickly. Because if you start to dwell on a mistake, then it'll probably make you play worse anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Alright, so Hannibalz2 going for in Gangbus and a Lifetop. Instead, he recognizes that he needs more cards to be able to fight back this board. And just throwing Doomguard, even though it's a lot of power, he will be losing the Shredder, and he doesn't want to do this. With the hand he has right now, Shredder and Ruby Egg on 6 will be pretty nice.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to go for that on 6, and then turn 7, he might have drawn a 2-drop by then, so he can play another card and Doomguard and not really discard anything. So, just again, planning a few turns ahead and filling out the curve there, but Ostkaka's going to be able to clear up this Ink boss really well.
Yeah, and one of the spiders as well, so we are fighting for the board as much as possible. But using the silence means he will not have the silence for, well, Nerubian Egg and Shredder.
Yep, and the interesting that the Peddler's coming down now, because what Hannibalz2 could have done was play the Shredder and the Egg, and then hope the Peddler gets a buff next turn.
Yeah.
To then buff activate the Egg and trade in to spawn the 4/4. So yeah, interesting ordering, because now the Egg just feels slow. But I suppose now he can actually just Nerubian Egg, Voidwalker, and Doomguard next turn. Oh no, he can't. He's only on 7. I can't count Nimsh. So we can only do either play the 2 smaller minions or the Doomguard and one of the other minions.
What's important is that he has options for the next turn. But Ostkaka right now looking at the Shredder, knowing that he doesn't have the silence anymore, and he still wants to fight for board because that's the key. I would not blame him. Okay, he had an implosion, but I would think about tapping as well. Dark Peddler probably a bit better, but if he taps, that's still fine as well. To just get a card and get a bit more advantage. The thing is, like, if you keep your board big enough in this matchup, you will win eventually.
Yeah, because as we've said before, there's just no good way for the zoo to try and deal with a big board. Like, all they can do is build a bigger board and then get good trades. And I like the Peddler here because it puts another minion there, and it the discovers sort of card draw anyway. So, and now it's just got another 1-drop in the turn of the Flame Imp. So actually playing another minion, probably a pick over any spells at this point, because he still has a power overwhelming. And that Doomguard probably isn't what Hannibalz2 wants to play, wants to see at least.
Yeah, he hoped that the Doomguard will actually not discard the Doomguard, and that will be the most powerful one. But this is Hannibalz2, ladies and gentlemen, going for face when he can.
Yeah, I mean, if you could double Doomguard, that's definitely a way you could come back. But now, even look at the work the Voidwalker's going to do. It's insane. Oh, okay, he's just going to trade.
Yeah, absolutely. You can trade here and just again, it works in your board. You're at 16. You are not afraid of dying. This is Zoo we are talking about. There was one Doomguard being played, a second Doomguard discarded. There's only Nerubian Egg you're facing. Like, what would you ever be afraid of?
Yeah, and this is actually really nice, and he still has PO as well, so still got a PO to work with in hand, which is going to be really good. And Defender Vargas, pretty good pickup because Hannibalz2 is in a position where he can keep tapping. Still got a good amount of health, and Squire, probably one of the best minions he could have drawn to combo with Argus.
Yeah, that's pretty nice, especially because not only he had mana, and now it's a 2 Divine Shield, so Ostkaka getting his own Doomguard. So this means he will be able to deal with the 4 for Nerubian as well, pretty easily, I believe. How do you clear this board? You can attack into a 1/2 egg with a Flame Imp to have a 4/4. Then you can easily kill the 2/2. You can power overwhelming the Spider, attack into a Spider with it, and then play your Doomguard as well.
Yeah, and he can tap afterwards, which is really nice if he wants to. Yeah, there we go. We are going to see the tap. I think you do have to utilize card draw, especially when your opponent's on solo cards themselves. And those trades exactly Nimps look like they're going to happen. And this is really nice. It just leaves a... I suppose you actually killed the 2/3.
Absolutely.
So something, yeah, something to do against the Zoo because it has so many buffs and like proc minions that you definitely just keep the board empty. And as you said, if you have a big board and your opponent doesn't, no matter how long it takes, you will win.
Oh man, I just had a heart attack for a moment. If that would be a tap into Implosion, and just Implosion on Doomguard into Juggler, that was a comeback right there. But fortunately for Ostkaka, Hannibalz2 didn't get that.
Oh, and speaking of Implosion, that might seal the deal here. Being able to just remove the minion, and then the combination of Direwolf as well, because he can just trade in those 1/1s next turn, and each one's going to do 2 damage, which is pretty huge. I kind of like just dropping Bran though, and maybe even just running the 3/1 into the 2/3 here.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think that's actually fine. Bran will be providing, well, not even more damage. Actually, Direwolf probably provides more damage if you play it, but then Bran.
I think the thing, yeah, I think Ostkaka still has like Defender of Argus, right? So just get.
Yeah,
I mean, he could have he cast whatever he wants next turn anyway, so it doesn't matter too much.
There is an Implosion, but without Juggler, it doesn't look that scary.
Yeah, and Dark Peddler. I mean, I don't quite know what he could throw. I guess it's going to be a Voidwalker just to try and slow him down a couple more turns.
He needs to hit 4 on Bran Bronzebeard. Can he get that? Nope.
Oh, completely whiffed. And that's a real problem, actually.
Yeah, but honestly, Raven, I think Hannibalz2 still had a chance if he will get a really good combination of cards. So the Juggler plus Implosion, or maybe... well, he used 2 Peddlers, so the Soulfire from Peddler would probably not be enough. But if Ostkaka would be a bit more greedy and not kill everything, there would be an opportunity to burst him down from the Soulfire from Peddler. But right now, at this point, I don't think there is anything in Hannibalz2 deck that can make him come back.
Yeah, and especially with Lothar coming down. Lothar pretty much guarantees lethal for Ostkaka next turn, and Hannibalz2 is gonna... I don't think there's a card in the deck now that can... I mean, I don't think there was particularly even a combination of 2 cards in the deck that won in this game now. And Ostkaka just playing really well, had a really good sort of early to mid game in terms of the cards, but played really well, kept that board clear, and to be honest, guys, that's a sort of masterclass in how you win that matchup.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's no shame to losing to the world champion. And I really enjoyed that game. That game was so delicate, and all the decisions that Ostkaka and both Hannibalz2 made from the very beginning of the game, trying to find the spots and trading with minions, it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the mirror in that one.
Alright, Raven, this means that Ostkaka advances to the top 8 playoffs on an unknown date. If you guys want to know the date, follow me on Twitter. I'm NimshTV. Follow Raven. What's your Twitter, Raven, again?
It's Raven HS UK.
Raven HS UK, and also follow the Hearthstone Champions League at HSC League. And we will try to release the details of the final day of the finals as soon as possible. But Raven, who is going to the finals again?
So we have Stan Sifka, Sixo, Pavel, Ecot, Show, Orange, and then as we've seen tonight, Ostkaka and Tice. Like, what a crazy lineup. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are fighting for $10,000. The winner is taking $5,000. Then the second place is taking $3,500. And the third place is taking $1,500. So a lot of money at stake and great games in front of us. Any final words, Raven?
Yeah, I mean, I just can't wait to watch it. I think I might actually be traveling when it's on, if it's going to be mid next week. So I won't be here to cast with you, probably, Nick.
Oh, man.
Which is a shame. But I will definitely be watching if I can. And if I can't watch it, I will definitely be checking out these VODs, because at the moment, you're not really going to see higher level play than this.
Absolutely, and also we had a lot of fun plays as well. We had the juggles from yesterday. Today we had amazing shredders from the ECOP games.
We've had amazing shredders all week.
Yeah,
I think like the shredders have been insane.
Alright, so this was an amazing tournament so far, and there's still one final day with all the games. So guys, make sure that you are not missing the final day. But for today, that will be it. All Hearthstone, thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for following, and see you guys next time. Join us at the finals.